I have a question. I don't know if it's relevant for now, but it's more case of maybe it appears in the future. But is there a way that we could look at some actual business cases? So very much maybe in the smart contracting space, like how, what would be the real world application and how easily could businesses be onboarded? I'm thinking more from a strategic standpoint in terms of some of the clients that I consult with, and how would one further that conversation potentially?
Really good question. That's just the sort of thing that I like to delve into. There's no point in doing all this stuff if it's not got real world utility, right? Uh, so finding the areas where there is least friction makes a lot of sense. I'm just trying to check. I'm getting pinged on messages. I don't know if somebody can't get in. Uh, oh no, it's all right, I think. So yeah, we've got several sort of areas which are most simple to communicate. And I think actually NFTs are probably one of the ones that business owners can really get their heads around most easily. So you can understand the concept of a limited edition runs of something. So that might be, for example, one of my clients has a portfolio of designers that he works with who all produce, they're well known, they've got their own audiences, and they produce artwork on a periodic basis. But what he'll do is when they have a new piece, he will do, and only one person can own that piece, obviously. But what they'll do is work with the wrong shop to produce a limited edition print run of that art piece. And that is then postered, in frames that people can go and buy. But it makes an awful lot of sense for them to also have a certainty that this is one of 100 of those posters, because they adopt and accrue value in and of themselves over time. And the sort of the provenance, the assuredness of that piece is strongly tied to its value in secondary markets. And it makes sense to have a digital representation that has all that certainty of a single issue. It's one of so many in that print run. And all those sort of contractual details about the limited edition of a piece can be written into the blockchain and become that real trustworthy source of truth about a piece. So the artist and the poster shop owner can say, yes, this poster shop has got the rights to print 10 of this art piece, and they're available for resale. So you've got two parties then who are agreeing on something in the real world. They can both sign something onto the blockchain, and that would be a minting policy that is requires those two to be involved to actually write it. The artists themselves have a wallet. The printer has a wallet as well. They both sign a transaction. This is our minting policy, and we agree to release a limited edition. Within that policy, there will only ever be 10 of these NFTs produced. It is embedded within that is an image that represents the artwork in itself. You've got the mint date. You've got the description of the artwork as it was. It was printed on this weight paper. It was using this set of inks. All that sort of information can be written up into a description of the piece really accurately, put into the blockchain, and then anybody that sells a poster on the secondary market can only do so, or they can sell it to anybody if they want, but the provenance will be tied to that NFT. And so if you want to resell your poster, you actually sell the NFT as part of that transaction and then send the poster. And that way the person knows that they're actually holding the physical item, which has value, but they also have the rights to it on chain as well. And I can easily see already we're seeing physical, museums and so on and so forth having NFT display areas. So you could actually have your first print run edition of not Van Gogh because he's long past, but current day artists that are going to be the Van Goghs of the future. You could have your first edition shown in a museum in 50 years' time, and you can still hold the NFT. And within that NFT could be baked in viewing rights or showing rights, publishing rights for that piece as well. I've signed a transaction that will allow, because I own the NFT, I'll sign a transaction with a wallet that holds the NFT that says that NFT can be shown publicly for a week-long period at this exhibition, and all those sorts of commercial contracts can be built into the blockchain itself, and then it's a public record that anybody can go in and query and enforce if necessary. And those sorts of scenarios are where you can see real world utility that the way we're interacting with each other already could actually translate into leveraging the power of the blockchain to add value and to increase the abilities of that. NFTs in and of themselves have a sort of element of identity baked within them. The holder of the person who can sign the wallet that's holding that NFT has proven within them, that little silo that they're a person that has the rights to that NFT and they can do things. And so we can translate that into identity systems as well. So maybe it's you want to issue a loyalty token to your committed community or business community, your customers. So to prove that they've bought from you products for or subscribe to your service for so long, you might reward them with an NFT that then gives them the ability to have a discount further on, or access to additional features or venues that you operate as a business. And so within that cycle of someone being a loyal customer, you then issue them an NFT, and that NFT then becomes their access point, their identity, their access into your ecosystem, and any further benefits you want to offer them. That's something that I could see happening really well. So maybe you're a musician, someone who's been to 5 of your concerts, actually paid for entry, then get sent an NFT that represents the access to a private box or something like that. Now, these sorts of things can all be tied back to a public blockchain. And ultimately, all the blockchain is a public database anybody can read from and anybody can write to, but nobody can edit. So you can't change something that's already up there. The history is always going to be readable, and so you can rely on it as an accurate record of events as they were recorded. And so any use case you can think of around that's where the blockchain really starts to shine. So yeah, good question. Any thoughts that's raised in you, or?
Yeah, so thank you. That's wonderful. Does a world exist where there's kind of like I know you said that the contracting itself can almost be plug and play, drag and drop kind of modularized. But is there a world that exists that says, okay, well, I want an NFT issuing a smart contract, click a button, download, go? Or is it a lot more complex than that, saying every scenario has to be pre-programmed and pre-built? There's not like a shop that you can kind of come and just download and order your requested predefined smart contracts.
Certainly that is growing. You've got a sort of library of contracts that are in use elsewhere. And again, that's another sort of mindset shift, is with Cardano in particular. Every contract on chain, or not every contract, but most of the contracts that are put on chain, anybody can interact with them. So there is no barriers to you using an existing smart contract on chain with your own players, because again, it's a permissionless system, so anybody can use what is up there already. And these smart contracts are pockets of code that you have inputs into, and they have outputs. triggers that will automatically do things. And so, for example, a simple escrow contract where that allows peer-to-peer swapping of real-world goods. So I've got a what have I got? Something interesting. I've got this rock that is extremely valuable. I picked it up off the beach, and it was only one of 10 billion, but there we go. It has a value to me, and for some reason you want to buy it from me. So how do we do that without engaging third parties? If we're in different places in the world, I've got to post this to you, and you've got to pay for it. Which happens first? Do I post it first, or do you pay first? And so that escrow functionality is normally carried out by a third party. I would send my rock to Bob or to Dinesh, and who's a trusted party that we both trust. Dinesh would then wait for you to send the money to him. And then once he's received the money and the rock, he maybe takes a bit of that money as a fee, and he'll send the rock to you and the money to me. And that's the exchange happened. But instead of Dinesh now, we can replace that with an escrow smart contract. So we've got the ability to sign a transaction, multi-party. So you sign it, I sign it, which means that we can exchange goods. And the only time the money will actually pay, or the guarantee for the money being paid out, can only happen on the completion of that event. So once we send the rock when I post the rock to you, when the delivery company actually drops it off at your door and then signs it as being delivered, that could be the trigger for the smart contract that then releases the funds to me. So you couldn't stop the funds being released to me, and I couldn't prevent that rock being delivered because it's out of my hands into some logistics company. And that's the sort of the beauty of it. And those contracts, as soon as one exists on the blockchain, then it's available for anybody to use going forward. And so there are going to be growing libraries of these smart contracts out there. As a case in point, if you want to set up I'm going to share screen, but my Zoom somehow always resets itself and loses my settings that let me do a share screen with the desktop environment I've got. So just give me 1 second to switch modes, and I should be able to share my screen. And I can show you NMaker as a platform, which is a NFT platform that lets you create mint operations for tokens quite straightforwardly. So I used it for an investment project I did with my stakers in the last couple of weeks. So we've got an investment opportunity that I bought into to run some infrastructure on the blockchain. I offered anybody who wanted to come in and buy a portion of my stake in that opportunity to select just a few people in my following, and to represent their portion of that opportunity, I gave them an NFT. And so that represents their portion of the investment. And I did it through this NMaker platform, which let me build a store, offer those NFTs for sales, create my minting policy, upload the image that represented the policy, each NFT. I could have done individual NFTs for them if I wanted to, each of those assets. And all the contracts, all the code for it was just through a web interface. So I did no coding for this at all. And it let me, sell fractionalized investment opportunities effectively. So the tool sets are there. The ability to code is being moved from the hands of individuals into, development houses where it should be. And the utility is just increasing all the time. So instead of having to engage developers, you can now just come and use, what you'd understand in the Web 2 world as, off-the-shelf web platforms. they're now actually they've got that financial layer built in that is blockchain based and giving you all the utility and abilities, as well as just plain transactions, sending money. It's also got things like identity, NFTs, built into it as well. So really exciting. I'm not really showing you the best of my screen share, and actually the store is empty now because there's nothing to sell. But I could at least show you what was it called, Fluid Oracle. What I got just from no coding, just plugging in some images and text into this platform, so we can explore the NFTs that I've got available. These have all been sold now. You can have multiple collections. So if you've got multiple versions or multiple releases that you want to sell, each of them can have a different policy. Each can represent different sets of information. Individual NFTs, they've all got the same image because it was just a fractionalized opportunity, but they could as well just be individual art pieces with unique attributes. So within the attributes, you can set up additional metadata, which I didn't really use for this, but that could represent, text on chain that I can't change after it's been published. That were, the details of the contract, verbally in a human readable fashion. It could be that this particular NFT has a face value of $10,000, and so that might be written into the blockchain wording itself, or it might have a date, in which case it can be redeemed for. So in this case, it was, you can redeem this NFT for 90,000 fact tokens at this date. And so the date, the amount available, and maybe even the party involved could be written into the blockchain, so that only one person could use it after that certain date. And so that's the ability, the power of these NFTs. And it's got a royalty contract as well. So secondary market sales, anybody who takes this NFT decides they're not going to hang around for a year for this opportunity to come to fruition. They just want to sell it on to somebody else who's interested. Or maybe they bought 4 and they want to sell one of them to their auntie. They can actually sell it on. But when that happens, there is a 7.5% royalty fee that will be taken and given back to the original artist of this NFT. And so you've got all sorts of utility layers being built out. Again, no coding ability, just using the tools available within NMaker to describe the functionality that I want. Now there's that level of ability, which is just sort of using and having, almost. So that's very difficult to enforce. Some of those things I've just talked about. How do you force me to give up 90,000 facts when somebody sends me that NFT? So that's where you need, actually, if you're gonna have trustlessness, this person doesn't know this person, doesn't trust them, but they still want to be able to interact and sell and exchange, which is, this is how cash works. It's got a surety by the banking infrastructure that you can redeem that paper note for so much gold. That's not the case anymore, but that's the concepts that we started with. If you're actually going to build that into a contract on chain that will, automatically trigger at certain events, then that's when you need to start looking at additional layers of technology and abilities. So if I have a quick look for the Blockly Marlow project. So here we have a visual playground for producing smart contracts in a drag and drop interface. So something, again, it's exposing you a little bit to business logic, to rationale, but it's hiding from you all the code that's being produced underneath. So in here, you've got certain observation points. When something is true, when something is false, when something reaches a value higher than this or lower than this, all related to on-chain data, then you can trigger certain events. So that might be some of these preset ones, like pay with this account this amount of money to this person if it's after this certain date. And that sort of block of logic can then be dropped into your contract and only work in the places it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So those pieces of logic will only fit against certain other pieces of logic. So can I reset this from here? Not sure that I know this interface well enough to do it. Just try going to going to default to have something in each time. Yeah. But like, for example, here, this is an add money clause that will only fit in certain spaces within here. So it would fit there instead of the constant money. This would be an add money attribute, and it will only fit there. And so it's creating a smart contract, rules, and how they can work with each other, but not letting you break how certain clauses come up with other clauses. So I couldn't put this add money clause in to a slot that's expecting a person. It would only fit in one that's expecting a monetary figure. And so those sorts of security mechanisms, logic mechanisms, rationale is built into the Marlowe platform to protect you from creating invalid smart contracts. But within this, you can actually create some really in-depth pieces of logic, publish them on chain, and have those executed by the Marlowe or executed by the blockchain, but using the Marlowe smart contract platform to actually build them out. They're really powerful, and that's how you would then make the NFT redemption enforceable. Additionally, so I would say I would create a contract that said, for this NFT, which is residing at this address at the moment, that will be redeemable for 90,000 FACT tokens, which will come from this wallet after this date. And that's the conditions of the investment opportunity, and that will be executed then. If I publish that smart contract on chain, that will mean that Barbara, for example, could come and redeem her FACT NFT for those 90,000 FACT tokens in 12 months' time. And that sort of contract then means that once I've published it on chain and Barbara buys into that opportunity, there's neither of us can do anything about it. It's we can't exit early. The rules are written into that smart contract. She will be able to redeem her investment for after that date, and there's nothing I can do about it after that point once it's published on chain. And so you've got fallback scenarios. So if it's 24 months and the NFT doesn't get claimed, I could then make the FACT token spendable by me 6 months after that date. So you can create then fallback logic as well. So you start to see how you can really build up real utility, real business logic into these platforms. And
yeah, that's very helpful. I kind of had a sort of a mental image of that's how it was kind of working, but to actually physically see it is great.
yeah, it's really useful tool. And
I mean, if I could ask you, just as like a real world application, I mean, a landlord or business that rents out office space, you could typically do the same thing, right? So individual tenants would sign their smart contract and link a wallet, which would have to be funded by a certain day of the month. Otherwise, services are terminated, access to the office is terminated, and on payment date, the funds are moved. And obviously there'd be certain obligations on the landlord or the office, the building owner.
100%, yeah. And I've had very similar thoughts. So I managed a commercial property a couple of years ago, and we had the door access system being put in, and it was like, yeah, all this is now ripe for being leveraged by smart contracts. Managing your access to recording studios, having musicians pay for their time in advance, all that could then be automated, and the surety of having the money in the account beforehand just becomes programmable. Then it's very difficult to do that with a traditional bank account, but with blockchain, when you've got that financial layer suddenly available to you, it becomes much more easy. So yeah, real utility, real use cases, and very good thought process. You're hitting all the right spots of utility for blockchain. Cool. Anybody else got a question that's burning? Otherwise, I got a few things to talk about. Dinesh, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I've just put the hands up. Just on a similar sort of topic. I was in Dubai recently and for Token 2049 event, and went to see a friend of mine there. And he's into trading, and he's written a book on Ichimoku cloud a statistical method of analyzing the trends. And he wants to publish his book as an NFT, and he's looking into NFT type scenario. So he was asking the question about how do I go about it. So it actually, these are relevant kind of questions. And his mindset was, well, I don't know much about it, so I need to look into it and which blockchain I would choose and which project I would choose and what does it mean. And so you see, these are the kind of questions that are popping up now from people's use case point of view.
Yeah.
So these are really valid discussions.
Really valid. And as soon as you talk about books, I get excited because one of the biggest and largest and most exciting book projects is Cardano based. So this is book.io, which is a 4-letter domain. Very exciting for web developers. But this is again a Cardano project. I was one of the devs was at Toulouse with me a couple of weeks ago. We were bouncing ideas back and forth, but touching onto all the areas of book publishing that I've been involved in the past. So traditionally, I run Fluid 7, which is a web development agency, and we have interacted with a whole load of different projects, typically delivering on the technical side of things, whether that's number plate recognition for ticketing systems for Rugby World Cups, or managing book integrations for large NGO, getting their bookstores published into various houses, is all the sorts of things we've done. So the book publishing was exciting for me. So if your friend doesn't know about book.io, send him here, Dinesh, because it's available for authors and publishers as well to come in and publish their books. They're going on to a whole load of new functionality at the moment. It's building up all the time. Mark Cuban is one of their investors, and he's actually got his book on here now as well for sale. And they are talking with some of the big publishing houses. And the next feature is going to be mint and print. So you'll actually be able to have people come in, buy an NFT from your store. As soon as that NFT is bought, that will go to a print on demand publishing house that will then print that book for them and send it to the customer. So instead of having to have all your books published in advance, have a 1,000 print runs sitting on a shelf in a storehouse, going moldy, waiting for customers to buy your book, you can actually just print on demand, and that execution, that supply chain is all automated and seamless, which I think is a massive step forward in terms of people who do want to have a physical copy of the book in their hand still, and actually leveraging blockchain to deliver it. They will also own the NFT, which they can resell if they want to, and the NFT means that you can read that book through your digital book reader as well. So you've got a whole load of opportunities for owning your library of books again, which is the basic premise of book.io. You can come in, buy. At the moment, most of the books are books that are out of their sort of copyright period, so they're able to be minted on chain and made available. And what's unique about them is that they've had these typically generative art covers that are unique and one-offs for the NFTs. And some of them are really, really cool. And so if you like NFTs, collect the NFTs anyway, then you can look at them as getting a book at the same time. So increasing your return on investment. But then I've also got some contemporary authors now publishing their books straight onto here. So I'm trying to find the Mark Cuban one, but I can't see it. But it is on here somewhere. But yeah, there was some YouTuber who I recognize and published his book on here. I'm not here often enough. David Coveney, I recognize him as an author. So these are the potential covers you could end up with if you mint one of the books. And again, it's sort of 39 ADA for a book, which is what, $15, something like that. You could then sell that on the secondary market as an NFT, and a portion of it go back to the author, and the rest will go to the seller, and then that can happen again and again. So it's creating perpetual revenue streams for publishers, for authors. And if you are working with a publishing house, you can have the revenue stream split. So a portion goes to the publishing house, portion goes to the author, and a portion goes to the person selling the book on the second market. And one of the questions that they put to people when asked, "What's the utility for book.io? Why on earth would you want a magic internet books when you've got Amazon already?" Is the difference between that and Amazon is that if Amazon close your account, you lose access to all your books. So if you fall out of favor with Amazon for unpaid fees elsewhere or something like that, then you can actually end up with none of the books that you've collected over the years being available to you. If Amazon ended up getting into trouble with the regulation of the country that you're in, they may have to withdraw access to their service from you. And that's happened to Russia recently with the aggressive war tactics from the people in Russia. Don't have anything to do with that. This is all government powers operating, and sanctions being placed on that nation, and the withdrawal of several digital services from the people in that nation. So is it right that you lose access to your books for the behavior of your prime minister that maybe you didn't even elect for, your president? These are the questions that blockchain is really there to ask and try and answer. And so the fact that you can have a wallet, a self-sovereign wallet, the assets in there are yours, you have access to them at all times. Nobody can take that away from you, unless, in this case of Cardano, 3,000 pool operators colluded to delete your transaction from chain. Just isn't really possible, it isn't feasible. And so, yeah, books then are restored to being owned by the people who bought them, rather than by that middle tier. Again, like the banking industry is a middle tier, hoovering up profit. The suppliers of big tech currently are sitting in that role. And I love big tech. I've been a big supporter. I use Amazon all the time, but they are getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, and that's not necessarily filtering down into the poorest in our world. And that's what I want to see. That's one of the reasons I'm in this space, is that we need to have a more fair approach to the spread of wealth. And that's what this can do. Yeah, Kerry, go.
Cheers. So is there anything happening in the music space in this regard?
Yeah, there's a couple of great projects on Cardano as well. The largest, which I'll show you first, is Noom. And they are taking artists' pieces. They can sign up to the platform a bit like you would do to Spotify or something like that, but the music is being released as NFTs, and so you can have the service operating as a pay per stream or as a actual asset purchase. So you can buy an album, you can have your artwork baked into that art piece, into the that release of that album. You can get your limited edition print runs, your EPs, all that sort of excitement about artwork, and gatefold covers, and the the thing that forged generations of music fans. That can start to be restored by the use of NFTs again. That's how I see it. And so Noom's a platform. It's got a whole load of music on here as well. You can go and browse around and see if you want to buy into them. It's got a think it's got preview abilities on some of the streams. I know it's just jumping off to Spotify on that one. So yeah, that's one thing I haven't looked into Noom too heavily, and I'm not sure if they're offering their own streaming service yet, or whether they are just leveraging on the back of Spotify for the streams. But you can actually buy the music from here still. The other platform is actually a protocol level, and they've just got a proof of concept for their music store. But their protocol is all around digital rights of music and engaging the music industry as it stands at the moment, publishing houses, individual artists, in their whatever current contracts are working, can start to adopt DMU. So with this, they're really creating a remuneration mechanism. So parties can come into this platform or start making use of this protocol and be assured of payouts in the right amounts to the right people, and you can set up those contracts. You can have someone help you set up those contracts and get going with it. And the protocol has a whole lot of baked-in features specifically for the music industry. They've got their first sort of proof of concept app, which is the music jukebox, and on here they've got a selection of music, mostly by independent artists. So, for example, Young Man Winter is James Dunseith, who's a developer and an educator in the Cardano space, who I've worked with lots in the past 3 years. A really great guy. Got to meet him and hug him for the first time a couple of weeks ago in Toulouse, which is very exciting for me. And he's got a band, and they published an album on here. They also have a Spotify listing as well, but you can come on here and actually buy the album directly. All the money will go directly to the band. There is no middle tier taking a cut in this scenario. Each of the tracks are available to stream at any point. If you've bought the album, you can stream the track if you connect your wallet. So you've got your wallet as proof of ownership of that NFT, of that asset, and that gives you, streaming rights in perpetuity. So it does mean that the streaming platform has to be up and running. So if that did go bust, then you still own the NFT, but you'd have to find somewhere, someone else would have to be able to pop up their rights to be able to stream it. But you could equally as easily, sell the actual MP3 files or something along with the actual purchase of the album. So actually, let me just see if I can get this going for you. I think that's my wrong wallet. So here is my Cardano wallet. Let me just hide some of these figures. I'll have a quick scan for the album. I'm going to switch on my DApp connector, which will let my wallet now interact with web applications, decentralized applications. So this jukebox is a decentralized application. You can tell that because it's got a connect wallet button. So I've connected my wallet now. In my wallet, I have this NFT, and there it's got a bit of rights, a bit of data on the creator, the artist, distributed from Workshop Maybe, which actually is one of James's businesses as well. And it's got all the production engineers, got credits for people who worked on the album. It's got a whole load of information that's richer than it can be as rich as you want it to be, as you need it to be. It can be the full internals of your album if you wanted. And because that's in my wallet, because I bought the NFT, I can now go to DMU and see if this works. Stream the music. Yeah. Now, this is a proof of concept, and the Cardano blockchain uses UTXOs, and so it can end up being that the album that you bought sits on a different UTXO than the one that the web app finds. All it means is that I have to go into my wallet and move it from one place in my wallet to another, and then it'll work again. But I don't keep track of that, so sometimes I come to it and it's failed, which is a bit annoying. That is completely a coding issue. It can be fixed. It's just it just does, you know, it's a proof of concept to get some attention on the protocol itself. The development's really been elsewhere. But yeah, it does work, and I could get it going for you, but you get the idea. And so you've got people.
100%, thank you.
So within it, you've got people buying, you know, paying ADA for actual albums and receiving the artwork into their album, into their wallets, access rights to the streaming of the music, and yeah, and they're actually funding the artist directly, which is, you know, a really cool step.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Yeah, I'm an artist, so it's pretty interesting. We got books and we got music, and now, yeah, I've got a catalog that I could put on there as a good book that people could print out, but also some particular images of my work. But I don't know if there's a market for that, if people really want to do that. But yeah, I've been thinking about that for a while, but I'm not too sure. I mean, it would be like a library, like it would be part of a historic library if I put that sort of stuff up there, which I'm interested in because I want to be remembered after I die.
Mhm.
So that, and then, you know, maybe the cost is really low because I give out catalogs to people to promote my work, basically.
Mhm. Well, particularly, I mean, I think if you've got an audience already, you're successfully selling your art pieces. Those are the first place to get you know, to offer additional perks to. So, you know, someone buys a piece, you say you can go and claim your NFT, and you know that's where the sort of hard work needs to be done to onboard people into this weird world of blockchain and crypto, and that's the sort of barrier at the moment. But that's a good way. People who are already fans of you, already holders of your pieces, they tend to be your best advocates for growing things, and it's something that, you know, artists struggle to do, but that's often what's needed. I worked with a very good artist in the UK, Ruth Below. In fact, we commissioned her to do a piece for our eldest child, which was awesome. But anyway, that's an aside. But she switched on to selling online very early on, and so she's got a following and reputation. She does you know, exhibition days where people will come along, and she hasn't progressed onto the blockchain yet, but that could easily be a natural fit for her. And then you've got the other side of the market, which are the people who are already fans of NFTs, already fans of blockchain. They're probably already owners of several NFTs. You know, I don't consider myself an NFT fan, but you still look at my wallet, and I have 3 pages of NFTs sitting there that I've just accrued through various mechanisms. That some of them got different value to me, but like the oldest ones I've got are these yeah, generative art pieces that are like starscapes, and I think they're great. And then the initial art pieces that led me to that one were these. So the first NFT I bought, I think, was maybe one of the first, was when some of these generative art pieces that are just rocks, like space rocks almost. And so I don't know why I like them, but I do. And if this artist came back and did some more, I'd be interested to go and have a look, see what he was up to. And so the people already buying this sort of stuff will look at any new project that's coming on and may get hooked, and then there's no onboarding with those guys because they'll just jump onto it. And with the potential of the secondary market sales now as well, all being on chain, all being, you know, out of your direct, you don't have to engage directly to make that work, but you can claim those royalty fees. That's a really good way of creating a secondary revenue stream from your existing art pieces, or new ones that you do that are especially going to be, you know, favorable to a digital community. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do mainly large scale commissions for hotels and office lobbies. So I don't have a lot of clients, and they're usually like, people that own a building. They're sort
Yeah.
of quite big.
Mhm.
But it's interesting when I give people my catalog, they go, "Oh, I know that artwork," but they didn't realize that I was the one that made it. So yeah, and I'm thinking about starting to market myself again because I don't have a lot of commissions at the moment.
Okay.
So maybe that's sort of a way to get a global audience because I'm based in Singapore, so most of my commissions are in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have one question. Like, if I want to do this, I don't want to do it myself. So it's about finding a team or some people that I can work with to assist me do that for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, book a call with me. I can talk you through
Yeah.
all those things, and we can look at what would be best for you. Because certainly there's opportunity, being an early adopter. Yeah, a lot of it is down to, what's happening in the world at the right time, events coming together to great success. But there's no reason why it couldn't be you. You're an established artist. You've got great pieces, and um, if people do recognize and remember your art, then it's kind of natural for that to translate into success in other areas as well, not just large commercial pieces. So it could be that you're taking really great photos of your installations, digitizing those, and then offering them for sale. And if you can work in collaboration with those, like hotels and property owners, then maybe it's something that you could offer them. Okay, anybody that does over the next 5 years, anybody that does come into the hotel mentions the piece, point them to this website. If you get a sell of an NFT, then the hotel gets a portion of the sales as well as you do. And that can be a way of getting the hotel to start to promote your pieces for you and answer your questions, because that's the thing, you never know who's talking about your work if it's in the public space. And it's very hard to tap into, but it's about trying to get those people operating, incentivizing those people to operate on your behalf is a way to grow it. Cool. Did I see a hand up a second ago? Yeah.
Yeah, with me. Just two things I was going to add, if I may. One is obviously you could QR code your artwork as well. So you could have a QR code on the actual piece, the physical piece, or somebody could scan that and then have a link back to to physically buying the art. So it's a nice way to expand on it. And secondly, I think also just with this being such a new space, I think, the moment you create that smart contract, as it were, that smart contract platform, I'm guessing then it's easier for the next artist to come on board and then be able to replicate it for their business and so on and so forth. So that's kind of should be the thinking, I imagine, in the decentralized blockchain world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're all building on the shoulders of giants. Open source movement is where a lot of our code comes on, and now we've got that code being stored on chain. It makes it available to use for others too. So, bringing other artists along. I mean, I always think I work in a technology space. I'm not particularly arty, but my life would be so much poorer if I didn't have art in it, music in it. I would not have a lot to live for. So the value in that needs to start being represented in the livelihoods of artists as well. So this is JPEG Store, which is the largest secondary marketplace for NFT collections, and it's worth coming have a browse through, see if there are any artists on here that are actually producing work that you like. A lot of it is just pixel stuff like this, which is, I don't see the massive attraction, but there are some legitimate, real world artists creating digitized versions that are on here as well. I'm trying to think of some of the project names. I can't actually think of them. There's some people on Twitter that I follow that do have some really nice artwork. and they're publishing those NFTs and doing well off the back of it. So that, you know, it's always good to try and copy other people. They're broken down barriers and broken through walls that you don't have to do then. So maybe I'll have a quick browse for that, see if I can find. But yeah, the art world is ripe for leveraging the blockchain, I think. Following.
Jonathan, just a question. I mean, just my business brain kind of going into overdrive here. I mean, I would imagine that there's probably an opportunity to kind of create a monetized smart contract library. So whether it be lease agreements or buy-sell agreements or whatever it might be, a set of things that, you know, pre-built, there, kind of stand, you know, pay, download and use it. And then obviously have the ability to maybe tweak and edit some of the terms and conditions.
Yeah, exactly. And what I can see, and there is nothing that I'm aware of like that as of yet. But what I can see being, you know, particularly useful is to have a library of those smart contracts that are out there, and the way you leverage those smart contracts is by just creating a one interface that will work across all of them. So it'd be a portal you could go to and say, okay, I'll find myself an escrow contract. I can then, on the same web application, actually have an interface that will let me interact with that contract without having to, you know, create one myself. Because typically smart contracts don't have any user interfaces that are used outside of the company that actually created the contract. But there's no reason for that. The user interfaces are a separate thing. You're really working in a world that's kind of like headless. So you have your functional logic, your application logic sitting on chain, and then you might have one user interface for like this is where we work currently. You have one user interface that's designed for mobile users, one for so Apple Store type apps. You might have your laptop type screen user. You may have your kiosk in a public space that gets used, and all those user interfaces are actually just tapping into the same core business logic. And that's really what we're trying to recreate with smart contracts. If you can create a portal that's creating user interfaces that are familiar and easy to understand, and have taken the time to understand the logic and the requirements, the inputs and outputs of those smart contracts, then you can really offer that as a valuable proposition, I think. And there are people already sort of doing that, but only in individual specific use cases that are interesting to them. So one of the platforms that I've used to fund my pool was I borrowed 1 million ADA, so I could boost the staking returns for the pool, increase the adoption of stakers to the pool for a 12-month period. And so I took out an Optim Finance bond, which is effectively I offered to pay a higher rate of interest to anybody that put their ADA into that bond for a year, and that effectively locked their stake with my pool. That works well. But of course, in the meantime, if in that 12-month lock period, all those people who'd lent money to it, they may come across a situation where they needed to get their money back out again. And so what was really required was a secondary marketplace that would let people who are holders of the, so who'd lent money to me, lent ADA to me, they needed to get out. They needed a secondary marketplace that could take the NFT that represented their amount of lending that they've done, and sell that on to get their ADA back out again. And so you had Optim Finance create this app, and then a separate team off their own back, who were just fans of the project, created a marketplace for people who had participated in those bonds to come along and sell their participation in those bonds in a secondary marketplace. And so they have this this bond exchange, which lets you as a holder of a bond sell that on in return for the stake that was put into it. So it instantly creates a secondary market, but as you can see, it's got a completely different user interface, built by a different team, but it's operating on the same underlying smart contracts and exchanging of NFTs. So two completely different user interfaces to the same contracts. And so what I can really see, like you were describing there, is a platform that's got one user interface that then works across multiple different smart contracts. And then you've got people who've become fans of that space, who are familiar with the way it works, and it reduces that time to learn a new platform. You don't have to switch contexts so often and so aggressively between applications. And that's just solving a user interface, user experience issue that is there and becoming more of an issue for blockchains. And I don't think we'll really see adoption until we get to start those sort of solutions like you're describing. So yeah, spot on.
Amazing.
And another question. Did you say kiosk? Like, can you make a smart contract that is like a kiosk, like a shop, so money can come in and money can go out? Is that like a smart contract where it's a business operation within?
Yeah. So
Really?
we've already got so there's a designer, industrial designer in the Netherlands, I think he is. Martin, who has developed a point of sale, electronic point of sale, for use in shops and so on and so forth, that interacts directly with the Cardano blockchain. So you can have your mobile wallet on your phone. You can go and scan a QR code on this point of sale, and then that will give you a contract to sign, and that will be for the value of the product you're buying. So you sign that contract on your mobile wallet, and that transaction then goes through in the blockchain. So really slick. Just trying to remember the website for it. I don't know if I've got a direct website, but it was. So he's done the industrial design for the kiosk, and he's also done a lot of the coding actually on the interface for it as well. The underlying contracts in place and being used are from the Game Changer team, which are excellent guys.
Is it Martin Steffner?
Martin Meher or Menher or something. So this is the Game Changer wallet, and they worked with Martin to produce this electronic point of sale kiosk type thing. No, it's not there either. M2 Tech, that was it. Yeah. So I think I'll probably find him through Twitter most quickly. In fact, there's that link up to it there. That's the idea scale. So Project Catalyst is the innovation fund for Cardano. Anybody who holds ADA, has an idea they want to see built, can propose to the community with a budget and a functional description of what they want to solve, and then everybody who holds ADA can vote on it and fund teams to build stuff out. I've got a proposal in on this Fund 12 of Project Catalyst, looking for 100,000 ADA to build out a stake pool operator business academy platform on the Damia platform. But yeah, if you've got some ideas, particularly UK by the sound of it, you can start to put some flesh on the bones and then actually raise funds from Cardano to build it, and you can engage collaborators in the space to actually help you build some of this tech out. If you're an entrepreneur, it's a glorious playground to go and play in. It's not always successful. I haven't had direct funding from any of my projects as of yet, and I've proposed 5 times now. But I have had funding from other projects who've then paid me to help build stuff. So yeah, it's a great space to be involved in. I'm looking for M2 Tech. I can't do two things at once. You may have noticed that about me.
You're doing very well, by the way.
Pretty sure it's M2 Tech. Did you see that?
Jonathan, just, I mean, openly, I mean, so you're available for calls to kind of sort of bounce ideas around and chat and kind of, you know, either point direction of how to kind of unlock things.
Yeah, I mean, so I run these calls every Friday. We do an hour and a half, and I'm very open to public discussion on stuff. And that's how I prefer to do most of my thinking, because I think collaborating is the best way to build. But yeah, if you want to if you've got an idea you just want to put some money into, then you can book a call with me, and I'll put my Fluid 7 developer hat on, and we can sketch out what sort of app might be possible to be built. And then if that's, you know, to look at collaboration to apply for funding through Project Catalyst or something like that, then yeah, I'm happy to do that too.
Oh, wonderful. Amazing.
So yeah, this is the guy. I'm hoping to find out m2tech.netherlands. And so this is his payment system. This is the one I was thinking of. So this is the kiosk paypad. Effectively, it's just a tablet in a industrial designed unit. It's got a USB-C connector. So all it needs is effectively an internet connection, and then it can be set up to pay for any products in physical stores around the world. He's working on this, I think, at the moment, which is going to be almost like a paper version of it, printed QR codes, that you can then have like price tags on items and stuff like that. But yeah, a really innovative developer. Prior to this, he was working on for a long time on coin counting mechanisms. So like booths that you drop your coins into to get your can of Coke out. He would do the coin sorting mechanism for the backs of those. And his was the best in the world, so he's well known for that. But yeah, he's got some good things. So there are people coming into the space who really know their stuff and working hard on these things. Yeah, go, Kerry.
Quick question is, can we invite people to this Friday call, or is it only limited to is it separate from what Luke is running?
This is all open access, so yeah, there's no gateways on this call whatsoever. Welcome to come in.
Just use the same link.
Yeah, that fluid7.com/Cardano QA. That'll get you into register for the calls. And so my reason for doing this is to educate, but also I should, and I always forget to promote the stake pool that I run. So if you are a Cardano holder, then if you stake with Fluid Pool, then we both earn sort of 3.5% APR on that ADA holdings. That by staking your ADA in a self-sovereign wallet, then that also gives you the ability to vote in Catalyst and Project Catalyst, which is the innovation fund, and also in Cardano coming up. So we've got this whole era of Cardano where we're moving governance out of the hands of the original founding entities into the hands of the community. And so we need to engage everybody to think of their ADA holdings as their vote power as well, because we want to be able to make decisions as a community that are beneficial to every corner of the community and not just to the wealthiest. And that's the challenge, because any financial system is always going to attract the people who are in it for the money. And we can do more than that. We can do better than that, is my hope for the Cardano ecosystem. Charles Hoskinson is an inspiring guy, and if you haven't watched his whiteboard video, you do like a bit of tech and you like a philosopher, then just do a quick search for Charles Hoskinson whiteboard video on YouTube, and you can have half an hour of being exposed to one of the brightest minds on the planet talking about his vision for fixing a lot of the world's problems. Also, while we're here, we're sort of I always like to invite people into the Discord community as well, which I run. On there, I record I put up the recordings of these calls. I take the notes, all the links I refer to, all the websites I visit as I'm talking through. So you can always go back and find what we've been talking about if something's piqued your interest. And inside that Discord group, there's also videos and stuff that I drop that I think are worthwhile people watching. So there's one video that I'm going to drop in this week that I thought was a really good way by this. I guess she's an economist, but she's done a nice, slick half-an-hour video on the money system, what's broken about it, and I haven't got to the end yet, but hopefully it's showing you how we can be aspirational in regards to fixing it. So videos like that I like to post as well, and all that's available inside the Discord, which I will drop the link to if I can find my Zoom controls. There we go. And that will get you into the Discord server where you can ask questions anytime in the week as well, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. No, I've typed that wrong. And within that Discord community, that's where I do talk about any investment opportunities that I see coming up that I want to offer people to partner with me in or whatnot. So being a delegate to the pool, hanging around in these calls for a long time, gets you access to anything that I think you should be involved in.
Is the entire crypto space this collaborative, and is this kind of a mindset around open source development? Or is this just Cardano, or is it just you?
I am biased, but I think it's uniquely Cardano. There are other communities that work really well. Polkadot, again, is one I've investigated and seen a bit of, and that looks fantastic. But yeah, there's no space I've found home in quite like Cardano. It's got a real collaborative mind, and a big part of that is the generous innovation fund that's being run. So Cardano's sitting on a Cardano Foundation, which is the non-profit entity responsible for the Cardano treasury. The treasury is funded by all the transactions that happen on chain. So 20% gets carved off of every transaction on chain. The transaction fees, 20% goes off into the Cardano treasury, and the treasury takes a portion of that and puts it into this innovation fund. And so roughly every 3 months, every quarter, there is $16 million worth of ADA distributed to community development groups to actually build stuff. And so when you've got that healthy supply of funding to innovators, entrepreneurs, deep thinkers in a space, then you start to get a whole load of ideas being spawned and collaborations being spawned. Because effectively you've got a healthy recurring source of funds to specifically tailor towards risky ideas, stuff that hasn't been done before, and it's drawing together those people into those calls to talk about their projects. Then you start to find collaborations, and that's then leads you into deeper working with each other. And even the essence of the blockchain itself, the infrastructure layer of that is run by the stake pool operators like myself, and the stake pool operators are incentivized to engage people. So the more people that stake with my pool, the more opportunities we have to mint ADA. And as an operator, that increase, the more full the pool is, the more rewards I get. So it should get to the point where if I'm just running the stake pool, it would provide me a livelihood. At the moment, it's not, because we're a small pool still, but that's the idea. You're incentivizing healthy actors on the network. They have to attract people in to be able to grow their pool, to fund the running of the network, and that means that they are often people who are running stake pools are educators, they're communicators, they are helping people go through those hurdles that crypto has in terms of understanding self-sovereignty, getting hold of a wallet, moving your assets out of the fiat system into a DeFi world. All these are massive hurdles being put up, and more aggressively by the existing financial system, and so it takes effort to onboard people, and that's what we're working to now. So yeah, all the stuff I talk about, I share in a summary of links that I drop into the Discord server. So if you jump onto the Discord, which is that first link, then I'll make sure I mention you in the. Have you got Discord, Kerry, by the way, or are you new to that as well?
Yeah, I do. I've had it a little bit. I haven't used it until joining Luca, so I'm on there. But I've obviously got to set the notifications, which I don't know how to do that. So I kind of am aware. Well, I've got to. I guess you just got to check back in and stay active on Discord, right? It's like being on WhatsApp, I would imagine.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And you know, I operate asynchronously, so you don't have to be real time with people on Discord, and that's a benefit because obviously we've got got lives day to day that we need to get on with. But just having it, a place where the community can gather and know if you ask a question, someone will answer it at some point is really useful. So yeah, all the reference to all the old calls and old links from all the calls are in there as well. That's the link to that money video that's worth a watch.
All right, I've joined the Fluid Discord.
Cool. So within Fluid Discord, there are in that like ideas to spread. That's where all sort of philosophical videos that I gather about money are, and so there's another couple of good ones in there if you want to go down some rabbit holes.
I love the rabbit holes.
They are dangerous though. They suck your life away if you're not careful.
And your outlook on the world.
Yeah.
Or reinforce it, really, actually.
They'll reinforce the things that you want to. Yeah.
How money
Yeah, exactly.
And you kind of
work and why they're broken today.
Okay, I'll check that out just now. Thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah. We do have to always be careful as well that you are engaging with lots of people with different opinions, because you can end up in silos too. So it's always good to find contrasting opinions and contrasting environments and ecosystems as well. So yeah, Polkadot's a great place to look at too, by the sounds of things.
Very nice.
So couple of things in the last sort of run of this. I do normally stop at about 11 o'clock UK time, 10 o'clock UTC, or however that translates to where you are in the world, but in about half an hour at the latest. And there was a couple of things I wanted to point out. So as I was mentioning in Luca's call, this is that Bitcoin ordinals marketplace that's been built by a Cardano team. And they've been able to do that purely because of the underlying UTXO accounting model that Cardano uses, rather than the global accounting model that Ethereum uses. So we've got similar tech stacks in Bitcoin and in Cardano, and that's meant that our developers can translate over to Bitcoin much more easily, and vice versa. If Bitcoiners would humble themselves and have a look at smart contracts as a utility for their digital gold. But yeah, this is a really slick looking marketplace. It's just come out, and on here you can start lending and borrowing on Bitcoin.
So Michael Saylor's, I think he's kind of recoined a phrase, or at least coined a new phrase. And he's knocking the idea of digital gold, and he's referring to it now as digital time.
Okay.
Because it's the only other thing that you can get, no matter how much money you have, you can't get more of.
Yeah.
Time, according to him.
That's very true. Time is the most precious thing in the world. Everybody has a limited supply of it. That's a good analogy.
There's that. It looks like he's done a series of them, but he did a 1 hour presentation. I think off the back of, or as part of the MicroStrategy brand, but kind of really pitching Bitcoin to the corporate community, the corporate business community. So I'll look for the video and I'll share it. But I got about halfway through it. I want to finish it, but he's really just sums it up so beautifully. He's an MIT graduate. He's an astrophysicist, and just his whole correlation between energy and time and Bitcoin and velocity and all those really powerful buzzwords, but he makes a lot of sense continuously every time he opens his mouth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've heard little bits of him, and I certainly love Bitcoin, and glad that he's bringing a whole lot of attention to it. He's got a bit of a bone of contention because recently he was bashing altcoins pretty heavily. He really looks down on everything other than Bitcoin, which I don't think is sensible, because utility is not in Bitcoin. Utility is in next generations. But yeah, everybody is worth listening to. Everybody's got some nuggets who are spending time in the space at all. Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision,
Yeah,
playing out really well.
I think what a couple of things that are that's kind of piecing together for me, if I may. The one is that they always say follow the money. I mean, him or MicroStrategy owns over 214,000 Bitcoin right now. So yes, he's obviously a positive vocal piece for it, because obviously driving up his own value, but that's cool because then you can follow the money. The other thing that he kind of says in this presentation, and I got excited this morning when I heard you say it with Cardano, is he says, if any altcoin that is going to try and do the same thing that Bitcoin did, is build the network and then give it away. And I think that's what you're saying with Cardano, because he says everyone else, and that's why the SEC is calling them securities and not commodities, is because essentially someone else holds the keys, or there's a group of people, and they can always choose to print more, mint more, whatever the case might be. But I really like the idea of what I heard this morning with Cardano going, well, we actually want to just put the keys, what did you call them? The Genesis keys into the public hands. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and that is a big focus for this. I mean, it's been on the roadmap from the very beginning. But when you've got a young community full of, crypto is the Wild West of finance, really. It's the place where you attract the pioneers, the entrepreneurs, but you also, along with those, get the greedy and the murderous and the exploiters. So with a young community, it's always worrying about the thought of handing over the keys to the kingdom to it. And so it's been a progression of, let's grow the community, let's grow it to a size, let's educate, let's make sure we've got some systems in place to really enhance the education in that community. Let's get some really strong governance mechanisms in place, some group decision making tool sets in place before we then hand over the keys, because it's in and of itself, Cardano is already really well equipped for classification as a commodity rather than security, because of the distribution of those Genesis keys. So you've got 3 independent commercial entities, one's a non-profit, who have to reach a quorum to make any decisions on those parameter changes. Even within that, the hard forks that actually change the parameters on the blockchain can only really go through if the node operators upgrade their nodes. A couple of years ago, Cardano, IOG themselves handed over or removed their stake pools from the default selection of stake pools. So the blockchain itself is not being drawn out of IOG themselves at all. It's actually coming from all the other operators on the network. There was a contention over one hard fork last year, as an example, where IOG and everybody in that sort of realm of things were pushing a new release of software. And there was one feature in it that was causing problems for node operators, and we needed further testing and a bug fix before the code went live. The node operators then collectively, just by either upgrading the nodes or not, actually stopped that upgrade from going live. So until there's a certain threshold in number of operators running a certain version of the node, then that upgrade won't go through, and so that hard fork can't actually execute. And so effectively, we delayed the release of codes as individual operators. There are 3,500 of us at the time, and just by talking, hearing the issues, knowing the community's perspective on it, knowing the front runner's perspective on it, and we can make a decision as to whether we upgraded our nodes or not. I chose not to. That delayed it by a couple of weeks. Bug was fixed. Communication happened. Everyone understood. Oh, sorry, we hadn't realized that's what you're talking about. There'd just been miscommunication. Bug got fixed. Code went live. We moved on. And so that's, you know, that's a decision-making process that's baked into the protocol already, and involved 3,500 node operators who held the ultimate control over whether the chain changed or not. And things like minting more ADA could never be done unless all those 3,500 operators colluded to make that happen. And so we've already got the most, you know, fragmented, distributed, decentralized decision-making process in terms of chain updates out there. And now with those Genesis keys, proposing those changes will be outside of the hands of IOG, Emurgo, and Cardano Foundation. It'll be fully in the hands of industry groups. So we've got Intersect, members-based organization, which is open access for anybody who is interested in the future of Cardano, particularly interested in businesses and thought leaders joining that members-based organization. We have an alternative community-based members-based organization called Pragma, which has just started up. So Intersect is kind of IOG-led. Pragma is now got the backing of Cardano Foundation, but it's community projects that are building that out. Again, splitting, diversifying the decision makers within the space. We've got a constitutional committee that we're building up. We've got parameter committees that we're building up, and we're writing a constitution that and a sort of code of conduct that people who operate in the space will have to adhere to before they can be involved in that sort of high level proposing of changes and issuing of changes. We've got Cardano improvement proposals, actually discuss on-chain parameter changes, and that has to go to a vote before it will be adopted. There's delegated representatives now going to be coming out as well, where anybody who has ideas and opinions on what governance decisions should be made can put themselves up as a DREP. They can then attract followers who will take their stake and assign their voting power to that DREP, to that delegated representative, that will then give that DREP a larger voice in terms of making votes go through. And so you can set yourself a platform. I'm going to be voting on governance issues to do with stake pool operators. Anybody who wants to stake with me, I'll be voting for decentralization, distribution of power, maybe increasing operator rewards to ensure security, future security of the network, etc. That sort of platform, then people can get behind and vote. And so we've got this really in-depth, organically grown, but strategically grown governance structure that's getting larger and more mature all the time. And so when Voltaire happens with a Chang hard fork, which is the next major hard fork coming up in Cardano, that will then release a whole load of power on-chain, removing the Genesis keys from the original holders and giving it over to the hands of the community. And we can then say we truly are the most decentralized chain in terms of governance, node operators, all the metrics. It's very exciting.
Would that be, I mean, is that inclusive of Bitcoin, or is this in terms of the altcoins?
Yeah, it'll put us ahead of even of Bitcoin in terms of decentralization, in my opinion. And of course, everybody's got an opinion. They are worth what they are worth. But you know, Bitcoin has an issue. It's got a very centralized adoption mechanism for changes. And the old guard have a very fixed idea for how cryptocurrency should work, digital currency should work, and they're not open to new ideas or fresh thinking in any way, shape, or form. So Charles Hoskinson again was involved in the early days of Bitcoin. He was an early holder. He sold the world's most expensive. No, he bought the world's most expensive Xbox because he bought it with Bitcoin. It was like 240 Bitcoin or something he bought it with. And so he can't do anything with it now. He's like, I can't play with it. It's worth millions of dollars.
Still not as expensive as the 2 pizzas.
Not as expensive as the 2 pizzas, no. That's ridiculous. you know, Bitcoin won't adopt any changes. They're blank set refuse to, you know, look at smart contracts to take upgrades. The hard forks, you know, we ended up with Bitcoin Cash because of the entrenched thought processes within Bitcoin. So yes, in terms of a store of value, it is the gold standard, or the time standard, as Michael Saylor will probably say now. It's got the most capital in there, and it's you know, it's uncontrollable. It's also got, you know, acceptance by SEC and so on and so forth. They've given it they've got the stamp now, and it's, you know, exchange traded product. So, you know, Bitcoin certainly is great, but in terms of innovation, adoption, increased utility, it's not really going to grow from where it is now, it seems. And that's where alternative chains, Polkadot, Cardano, can really pick up the baton and run with it. And so Cardano, with its governance changes coming in this year, will really be, yeah, the most decentralized. And in fact, there's a research academy group, Edinburgh Decentralization Index, that's been started. Charles Hudson's been putting a whole lot of money to actually fund the academic work on it, but the academics are completely independent. They work off their own agendas. You believe that as much as you can believe that, and there are naysayers in it as well. But, you know, I think academics are such an awkward bunch. They're strongly opinion bunch. They're not going to bow to, you know, having some funding. Once it's in their bank account, it's in their bank account, and their opinions they express from that point on are their opinions. And so, yeah, that Edinburgh Decentralization Index is a look at a way to measure the decentralization of any blockchain. And the first results are showing Cardano in a very, very, very good light. And you can go in and see all the in-depth metrics that they've gone into for that. If you search for Edinburgh decentralization, probably needed the whole thing.
Index or survey? Index.
Okay. Yeah. Actually,
Where's a good place to store all this kind of stuff? I mean, where do you generally store these links? And I mean, other than write them down in your head, do you have like a digital kind of?
My public space is Discord. I try and put any links I think will be useful to everybody in there, and then I actually have a mind mapping method within that I use for myself using OBS, Obsidian, which is
it's the second time I'm hearing about Obsidian. Okay, great.
Yeah, and that's just a really flexible, really freeform, really simple text editor that can bring in, you know, a whole lot of different ways of linking your thoughts and processes and whatnot, and has some useful tools like mind maps.
So can I ask a question? So
I'm going to get you, Dinesh. Give us one. Go on, Kerry.
So it's a two-part question, I think. So the first part is you keep talking about Polkadot. So I just want to kind of get a sense. I would imagine it's not linked to Cardano, and if not, then where's a good place to kind of start? Where do we get the Jonathan of Polkadot, essentially? And then the second question is different, but so am I correct in saying that the valuation? So obviously, I mean, I've joined this whole road off the back of Luca's carbon copy project, right? And the idea is that he's investing in multiple projects, and hence we want to diversify our investments across the opportunities of the next bull run. Is it safe to say that essentially, when you look at a project like Cardano, if you want to call it a project, what essentially the ultimate output is a pump or an increase in valuation of the token, the actual cryptocurrency, because that's where the ultimate value lies. So as the project or as the network gets stronger and comes more into favor and ultimately builds more projects and generates funding because people are investing in it. Is that ultimately what drives, is that kind of what kind of ticks the boxes and drives the matrix forward, if you kind of get my question?
Yeah, so ultimately any ecosystem is looking to attract more in, whether that's of people or money or trade. And so Cardano as an ecosystem is looking to grow to the point where, Charles's vision is for it to be the financial operating system for the world. So you have the exchange of value happening through the Cardano blockchain. And so there are a whole load of game theory built into the Cardano blockchain that incentivize people to come in to the ecosystem and to earn by being a good actor in that ecosystem. And so, yeah, the growth of the Cardano ecosystem is the ultimate goal for any chain. Polkadot's exactly the same. The realists in the world also acknowledge that there has got to be diversity of solutions. Every technology has a shelf life, and Cardano in its current guise will be outpaced in the next 10 years by the next generation of blockchains, whatever they hold. And if you're looking to the immediate future, then the chains that will overtake the current generation will be extensions of utility on Cardano. So we've got the Midnight blockchain being worked on at the moment, which is introducing a much more flexible way of incorporating zero knowledge proofs into the blockchain. With zero knowledge proofs, you get the ability to operate anonymously with privacy, data protection, strong identity. And so you've got Cardano, which will be the public, permissionless, open ecosystem, and then you'll have the privacy protecting, enterprise ready partner chain to it. And so that's almost already like an addition, a partner to Cardano. Not so much an upgrade, because Midnight will rely on the abilities of Cardano to a large extent. But it's, that's the direction, that's the things to do move on. And so with Polkadot, there's no reason why Cardano would consider Polkadot, if it's got the best technology available, as a competitor, it will consider Polkadot as a extension of its abilities. And so even, if Bitcoin was of that mindset as well, we would be working with the Bitcoin crew. But Polkadot's open, Bitcoin not so much. And Polkadot's got much more utility than Bitcoin has. So if you want to find a Jonathan of Polkadot, I would suggest you start with unifiers. This is a collaboration between Cardano and Polkadot. I don't know the Polkadot guys very well yet, but the guys involved in unifiers from the Cardano end of things are top notch. So Felix Weber from Catalyst Swarm, I worked with close to it again, met him last week face to face for the first time in 3 years. You've got Tommy Astakainen, who's a published author on cryptocurrencies. Really knows his stuff. We've got a whole lot of opinions and ideas on governance. We've also got like Bullish Dumpling, who's he's UK resident, Chinese national, who really knows both communities, East and West, and has been she's a host for Coin Bureau's Twitter Spaces, and top-notch people in the ecosystem. And there'll be someone in there who will help you find the Polkadot equivalent of me, I'm sure. I don't know all the incentive mechanisms for Polkadot users. There's probably node operators who probably fill similar education type roles as me, but that's the ones to do. So yeah, I'll drop this link to unifiers on Discord as well, and a few of those names too, so you can go and dig them out. In fact, there's a Discord group for unifiers that I can invite you to. In fact, there's a link there. You can take that straight off the Twitter thing.
Could you? I'm not on there. Could you share that if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I do is I take all my browser tabs that I've opened up during this call.
Yeah. Okay.
Them all out at once after the call, and
Okay.
and that I don't miss any.
Amazing. Thank you.
Uh,
Sure. I've definitely been super educated over the last 2.5 hours, however long it's been.
Good. I'm glad. It's like this every week. Honestly, we dive deep very often. Dinesh, what you got?
Yeah, I just wonder if you can throw light on this news that says CNS mainnet launch, which is the Cardano Connect identity infrastructure layer for Ethereum for Cardano ecosystem. So, question would that be? How would that be practical for us to be able to use that? Because these
Yeah, so it's one of the perks. We are related to this project. It's one of the perks that's coming by way of the A-Starter relationship we've got. Cardano naming service is looking to be so you've heard of DNS for the internet, which basically translates web domains into IP addresses. And we'll have a similar thing on Cardano translating blockchain addresses into user-friendly, human-readable
URLs.
yeah, like URLs or handles. So the CNS will cover. I mean, we've got handles for blockchain addresses already, and we'll also have handles for email equivalents and website equivalents as well. Social references, identity. There's a whole load of additional layers that will need to be built into the sort of naming service. And so this is a sort of first foray into really creating a decentralized registry of those pointers, those locations in space, digital space that we need to have. And so as a fluid pool delegator, I think particularly if you participate in the A-Starter opportunity, then you will have access to a subdomain of the Fluid 7 domain in the Cardano naming service. So as a stake pool operator, I'm going to get one of those domains default, and because we're a partner with A-Starter, I actually have access to a whole lot more subdomains within my domain that could be used for. So you could effectively have dinesh.fluidpool.com or something, or .io or whatever our TLD ends up being, .ada probably. Actually, yeah, it says it here, find your .ada CNS. So that would then have the ability for you to host maybe your social, so a bit like Linktree, where you can just store a whole lot of different URLs for various things and email addresses and YouTube channels and whatnot. You could start to build those sorts of utilities out of that that sub handle that you can get with the CNS. It's not mainstream within Cardano as of yet. And for this to really hit the mainstream, we need browser adoption. So the browsers need to adopt the Cardano naming service as a translation mechanism. So you just type into your browser bar, dinesh.fluid.ada, and it will then translate into showing the world your what you want to show them. And that's still to come. We've got some roads to do that, but early days, but exciting to see. And so CNS have got some code they've put on mainnet. I haven't been keeping a close eye on it. But in fact, I was on a Zoom call with the core developer of it, in Toulouse last week again as well. Really top-notch guy who's also involved in Gimbal Labs. He's going to be building out the Aiken documentation on the Andamio platform. So yeah, there's lots of correlations and good actors. Is that answering your question, or is you just raised more, Dinesh?
No, that's okay, because I think what they're saying is it's one of those that will be a game changer for Cardano ecosystem. So it's how practical for everybody to use that. I know when I filled in one of the A-Starter card, there was a naming thing I filled in, a form that I filled in, and I got a surprising. I received a message from X, but I dare not click on it. It says CNS Cardano Connect. Got questions or concerns? Just reply here. It's for some reason it came on my Twitter account.
The direct on Twitter.
Yeah, direct message. So I'm conscious that I shouldn't click on anything that's a bit unrecognized.
Yeah, always wise to stay cautious in direct messages on any platform. I don't think I've had anything from. Oh, was it this one? No, I think that was from earlier to do with my partnership with them. If you want me to check it out, you can. So if it's got a link on it or something like that, you can.
Okay, let
Right.
me just click the message. There is a link.
You can
Yeah, there's a
right click on that link and copy the link address and then paste that into our Discord, and
okay.
I can check it out from one of my sandbox machines if you want.
Right. Okay. Good. It's a
Uh,
Google form. The Google.com forms.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it might just be a questionnaire that they've run, and I knew that they were doing one, but they haven't consulted me because there was some questions I had around identity protection and brand rights
Right.
and stuff like that,
Okay.
which I haven't
Right.
answered yet. So yeah, we'll see. It might
Will
be
do.
they've just jumped the gun a bit on it. Yeah, thanks for telling me about that. That's cool.
Will do. Thank you.
Kerry.
So thanks. Other than Brave, are there any sort of what do you call it? Blockchain friendly browsers?
Um, no, it's my experience. There are some that sort of showing the right noises. So, um, um, Opera I think is looking that way, but Brave is the only one that's really gone. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at that. And there are some because like Brave is a clone of Google's browser stack. And there are additional people who build out browser versions. So in fact, the browser that I'm showing you at the moment is a Google clone that's built by an individual developer who's optimized it for Linux and stripped out a whole lot of data tracking stuff from it. So there are alternative browsers out there, and there's bound to be lots of crypto-friendly ones. In terms of the mainstream, though, that I'd be confident in telling people to look at, then Brave's the only one really I tell people to have a look at the moment. The benefit of Brave is it has that built-in wallet. So if you're interacting with the Ethereum blockchain, I think it's much better to use the Brave supplied wallet to interact with the Ethereum blockchain than to go through the process of finding MetaMask, installing the extension, and working with it that way, because it's such a huge target for hackers and scammers that the chance of getting an extension installed incorrectly or signing something you shouldn't have is quite high. And with the Brave wallet, then at least you know it's come along with the way of accessing the internet as a whole. Now you've got their wallet there, and it's Ethereum compatible. So yeah, that's what I do when interacting with Ethereum. Cardano, you still need browser extensions to really
And
work
you would
with.
do that in Brave, or you would use a Chrome browser, or
For me, I use a Chrome clone. So I use Brave when I'm on Ethereum at all, but I actually prefer this browser, which is called Thorium. But it's by a single developer who's effectively cloned the Chrome source, the open source version of Chrome called Chromium, and added in some optimizations and stripped out some data harvesting features. But I'm happy for you to go and have a look at it, but I'm not recommending it.
okay, got you. Thank you.
I would recommend Brave, but yeah.
Thank you. Amazing.
Cool. Well, we're hitting the hour. Any last minute questions, or should we wrap up there?
Just a thank you from our side, a really big thank you. Wow.
My pleasure. We do tend to dive deep in these calls, and it is very much Q&A. So yeah, anybody that's curious and looking to learn, this is the right place. And I would be remiss if not pointing you at my my staking tutorial video as well. So if you do become a Cardano holder,
I am. I have been for a while. Funny enough, I've been an early adopter of crypto. Not as early. I mean, as early as 2017. But yeah, so I've been holding all the big stuff.
You've been in
So
longer than me.
it makes sense. Oh, really? And just a general question. I mean, is there place in the and not necessarily just Cardano, but in the blockchain space for non-developers? So, strategic business thinkers and.
Yeah, Project Catalyst is the place to go. The Innovation Fund attracts really great minds, and so within Project Catalyst, if you're delivering on a project, you need ideas guys, you need project managers, details guys, you need builders, and you need marketers and social media experts. And so for any project to be successful, it has to handle all those legs. And so wherever you sit on the spectrum of human abilities, you'll find a space within Project Catalyst. And just getting involved, everybody can have an opinion on governance as well. And so I'd encourage you, if you're in digital currency space, you're aware of the founding ethos of it, then get into governance. And there's lots of capacity for bringing in bright minds and to the governance side of things. So if you have a look at projectcatalyst.io, that's a good starting point. Get involved, and this will then take you through to, it's got a bit of a browser around the Cardano projects on here as well. There's links through to the town hall, which is every Wednesday. We run a Zoom call with between 50 and 200 people join it, attend. We have breakout rooms after the town hall. So the town hall itself is where the Project Catalyst team give updates on projects and how they're doing, whether they're holding to their milestone deliverables, give stats on how we're doing, how we're spending our fund as it is. And then after the town hall, we have breakout rooms where you can go and hear topics directly from the people who are building the next layer of infrastructure for Project Catalyst, or there's a strong Latin American community, Spanish-speaking community, that have a regular room. There are Catalyst Swarm, which is like a decentralized, radical grassroots building community. And out of that has spawned all the after town hall infrastructure, Idea Fest, which is like promotional events for Project Catalyst project proposers. We've got the Unifiers collaboration now from Polkadots, come from Catalyst Swarm, and Singularity Net, which is the AI network. Their Deep Fund, which is their innovation fund, that was actually spawned out of collaboration with Catalyst Swarm as well. So yeah, really, really great things being built and born out of that. And if you want to go into, African projects, the West African Decentralized Alliance all operates on Catalyst Swarm as well, Catalyst as well. Education, got Gimbal Labs. There's literally space and room for everybody who just likes to think and talk. And probably I'd say there are only, I don't know, 0.5% who are Haskell developers. So yeah, there's lots of room.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the website to get started with, and come along.
So that's with the Catalyst.io or projectcatalyst.io. I'm trying to see the address. Projectcatalyst.io.
Projectcatalyst.io.
Thank you. And will you be sharing the video on the recording section as well on Discord? This video.
Yeah, I'll get this uploaded to YouTube today and drop the link into Discord as well.
Thank you so much, and yeah, thanks to everyone else on the call.
Pleasure. We'll be back in next week, so do join.
Wonderful. I'll do my diary already. Repeat appointment.
Cracking. All right. Thanks, everyone. Hi,
Thank you.
hello. Good to see you. And
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.